Ashtavakra Gita, Day 4, Part 4, Chapter 2. You are the one observer of all, and in reality, always free. Your bondage is this: you see the other, not yourself, as the observer. I am the doer, thus has the black serpent of ego bitten you. I am not the doer. Drink this nectar of trust and be happy. I am the one pure knowing. Thus, having burned the forest of your ignorance with this fire of certainty and being beyond sorrow, be happy. This imaginary world is projected like a snake on a rope. Knowing this, you are a bliss, ultimate bliss. Thus, wonder happily. He who considers himself free is free, and he who considers himself bound is bound. Because in this world, this proverb is true. As you think, so you are. Being is the witness, all pervading, perfect, one, free, conscious, free from doing, non-attached, desireless, and peaceful. Because of illusion, it looks like the world. I am an individually projected life. Drop this illusion, and also feeling of inner and outer, and awaken in the thought that you are the unchanging, conscious, non-dual being. The first sutra, Ashtavakra said, you are the one observer of all, and in reality always free. Your bondage is this: you see the other, not yourself, as the observer. This sutra is extremely important. Sutra means verse. Understand each and every word correctly. You are the one observer of all, and in reality, always free. Ordinarily, we perceive our life through the eyes of others. We use the eyes of others like a mirror. We forget the observer had become observed. And it is natural. A child is born. He does not know anything of himself. Only by looking into the eyes of others will he know who he is. You cannot see your own face. You will have to look into mirror. When you look at yourself in the mirror, you have become the observed. You are no longer the observer. How much do you know yourself? As much as the mirror reveals. The mother says, my child is beautiful. So the child thinks he is beautiful. The teacher in school says you are intelligent, and you begin to believe yourself intelligent. If someone insults you, if someone condemns you, its tone penetrates you deeply. That is why our knowledge of ourselves seems to be so confused, because it is made of many voices, of many conflicting voices. Someone says you are beautiful, and someone else says, you beautiful. Look at your face in a mirror. Both voices are taken in. Duality is created. Someone says you are very intelligent, and someone else says, I have never seen such an idiot. Both voices are taken in. Both are collected. A great uneasiness arises. A deep split is created. This is why you are not certain about who you are. You have collected such a crowd of opinions. You have looked in so many mirrors, and each one has given you different message. Mirrors have no message about you. Their message is about themselves. You must have seen mirrors in which you become tall, mirrors in which you become fat, mirrors in which you become extremely beautiful, mirrors in which you become extremely ugly. You become an Ashtavakra. The reflection in the mirror is not of you. The reflection is the mirror's nature. Conflicting opinion go on accumulating. You begin to believe that you are this accumulation of conflicting opinions. This is why you are always shaking, always afraid. How deep this fear of public opinion? What if people think bad of me? What if they should think me a fool? What if they think I am immoral? We become worried because we have shaped our being according to others. Gurdjieff, one of the great saints, used to tell his disciples, if you want to know your soul, you will have to leave other people alone. He was right. For centuries, masters have been saying this. If you want to know yourself, you will have to stop looking for your image in others' eyes. As I see it in many seekers, explorers of truth, left society not because it is impossible to know the truth while remaining in society, but because it is very difficult to know one's own face correctly while living in society. Here people go on giving feedback as to who you are, whether you ask or not. Images of who you go on pouring in all forms, all sides, and by we begin to live by these images. I have heard a politician died, and no sooner he had died than his wife, who had died 2 years earlier, welcomed him at the gate of the other world. But the politician said, I won't enter yet. Let me go to the national burning ground along with my beer. The wife said, what is the use now? The body is lying there. It is a clay. He replied, it is not clay. Let me see how many people have come to bid me goodbye. The politician and his wife began to walk with the procession. No one could see them, but they could see. There was a huge crowd. There were news reporters and photographers. Flags had been lowered. Flowers were heaped on their bier, which came on a military truck. Great respect was being demonstrated. There were guns in front and behind the bier, and soldiers accompanied the procession. The politician was deeply moved. The wife asked, why are you so happy? He said, if I had known that so many people will come, I would have died earlier. Should have died much earlier. Why did I wait so many years? But I lived so that such a large crowd would come when I died. People live from the crowd, for the crowd. People die for the crowd. What others say has become so important that you do not even ask who you are. You collect cuttings of what others say and make your self-image. This image is bound to be very unsteady because people's mind go on changing. Not only do people's mind go on changing, their reasons also go on changing. Somebody comes to you and says you are a virtuous person. This is nothing but a flattery. Who considers you a virtuous person? No one here considers anyone beside himself as virtuous. Just think about yourself. Do you consider anyone virtuous? Sometimes you have to say it. There are needs, life problems, and you have to assert a lie as the truth. Call an evil man good, praise an ugly person as beautiful. you have to resort to flattery. This is exactly why flattering is so valued. Why do people fall into snare of flattery? Even if you tell the most idiotic person that he is a genius, he does not deny it because he has no idea about himself. He listens to whatever you say, he becomes whatever you say. So reasons go on changing. One says beautiful, one says ugly. One says good, another says bad. This goes on accumulating, and one on the basis of these opposing opinions, you fashion your being. You are riding on a bullock cart that has bullocks pulling in all directions, and the cart tries to move in every direction at once. Your very bones get tired, you are only dragged. You reach nowhere, you cannot move. Today's first sutra says you are the one observer of all, and in reality always free. The individual is the observer, not the observed. There are three types of people: those who have become objects to be seen, performers. They are in the deepest darkness. Second are those who have become spectators. They are little better than the first, but there is not much difference. Third are those who have become the observer. It is good to understand these three distinctly. When you become the observed, you become a thing. You have lost your soul. It is difficult to find a soul in a political leader. It is difficult to find a soul in an actor. He has become an object to be seen. He lives to be an object to be seen. His whole effort is to impress people, how to look good, how to look beautiful, how to look the best. It is not an effort to be the best, but an effort to appear the best. One who becomes the observed becomes a hypocrite. He covers his face with mask. He presents a good outward show but is rotting inside. The second are those who have become spectators. They are the vast crowd. Naturally, the first type of the people needs the second type. Otherwise, how can people become performers? Someone becomes a politician. He gets a crowd to clap for him. There is a great harmony between them. A leader needs a followers. If someone is dancing, spectators are needed. If someone sings, listeners are needed. Hence, some busy themselves as a performer and some remain spectators. Spectators are the vast crowd. Western psychologists are very worried because people are becoming mere spectators. They go to movies, switch on the radios, or sit in front of television for hours. In America, the average person spends about 6 hours a day watching television. If there is football game, they watch it. A wrestling match, they watch it. A baseball game or the Olympics, they watch it. Now they have become mere spectators standing at the side of the road. The procession of life passes and you go on watching. There are some who have joined the procession. That is harder. There is much competition. To join the procession is not easy. A lot of fighting and aggression is required. But spectators are also needed to watch the procession. They stand on the side and watch. If they are not there, the procession too will disappear. Imagine if followers did not come. What would happen to the leaders? Alone shouting, "Let our flag fly high." They would look like great idiots. They would look insane. But spectators are needed. A crowd is needed. Then even the madness looks right. Imagine a cricket match is going on and no one comes to watch it. the match will be dead. The juice in the match is not in the match itself, it is in the thousands of people who gather to watch it. Man is wonderful. He even goes to see horses races. The whole of Koregaon Park is full of horse races enthusiasts. It is very strange. No horse would go to watch men run. Horses run and men come to see it. Man has fallen below horses. Life is spent just watching spectators. You do not love, you watch love making in films. You do not dance, you watch someone else dance. You do not sing, you listen to someone else sing. It is surprising if your life becomes important. If all life energy is lost, there is no movement, no flow of energy in your life. You sit like a corpse. Your sole function is to go on watching. Someone goes on showing, you go on watching. These are the two types are abundant in the world. One bound to the others. Psychology says there are two poles to each illness. There are people psychologists call masochists and they torture themselves. And there is another type which psychologists call sadists. They take delight in torturing others. Both are needed. So when these two gets together, it becomes a scene of great merriment. Psychology says you can't find a better couple than where the husband is a sadist and the wife is masochist. The woman enjoys torturing herself. The husband enjoys torturing others. A wedding made in heaven. One is blind, the other is leper, well suited, a perfect fit. Every illness has two polarities. The performer and the spectator are two poles of same disease. Usually, women like to be watched and men like to be spectators. In the language of psychology, women are exhibitionists. Their whole interest is in display, ostentatious display. Once Mullah Nasruddin was swatting flies. There were too many around, and his wife asked him to get rid of them. He was standing near the mirror, swatting them. He said, "Look at these two she flies sitting here." The wife remarked, "This is too much. How do you know whether they are male or female?" He replied, "They have been sitting on the mirror for the last 1 hour. They must be female. What would a male do on the mirror? Women cannot live without mirror. When they see a mirror, it pulls them like a magnet. Their whole life is spent in front of it, trying on clothes and dresses, trying on jewelry and adoring themselves. And the surprising thing is that when the woman goes out, totally dressed up, if someone pinches her, she becomes angry. If no one harasses her, then too she is unhappy. Because so much preparation was made to be provocative, to provoke harassment. Otherwise, what was the need? Women do not bother to dress up in front of their husband. They remain perfect hags in front of their husband. Because with him, chasing and seduction has long stopped. But if she has to go out, she will take a lot of time to prepare. She will have spectator. She will be on stage. Psychologists say man is voyeur. His whole life focus in viewing. His whole interest is to see. Woman is not interested in seeing. She is interested in exhibiting herself. That is why a man and woman pair fit each other. Both sides of illness are there simultaneously, and both states are unhealthy. Ashtavakra says man's nature is to be seer, an observer. It is neither to be performer nor to be a spectator. Never confuse these two again. Many times I have seen people make mistake. They think they have become observer when they have become spectator. There is a very fundamental distinction between these two words. The dictionary may not show the difference. The spectator and the observer may have the same meaning, but in the dictionary of life there is a great difference. A spectator is one whose eyes on others. The observer is the one whose eyes are on himself. When the eyes are on object, you are a spectator. When the eyes are on the seer, you are an observer. It is a revolutionary distinction, very fundamental. When your eyes stop on the object and you forget yourself, then you are a spectator. When all the object of vision have departed, when you and only you are there, only awakening remains, only alertness remains, then you are an observer. When you are a spectator, you become completely oblivious. You forget yourself completely. Your attention gets stuck there. You go to movies and for 3 hours you forget yourself. You don't even remember who you are. You forget all the worries and anxiety. This is why crowd rush there. There is so much worry, anxiety, trouble in life living. A method of forgetting is needed. People become completely one-pointed. Only at the movies in their total attention is focused. They see actually there is nothing on the screen. Just shadow go on flickering. But people are all attention. They forget their illness, their anxiety, their old age, and even if death comes, they will forget that. But remember, you have not become an observer in the theater. You have become a spectator. You have forgotten yourself. You have no memory of who you are. You have lost memory of the energy of seeing which is within you. You have stopped an object at the object in front of you. You are totally drowned in it. To be a spectator is kind of self-forgetting, and to be an observer means now all the objects observation have disappeared. The screen is empty. Now no film moves on it. No thought remains, no word remains. The screen becomes absolutely empty, blank and shining, white. Nothing left to see. Only the seer remains. And now you take plunge into the seer. You become the observer. Performers and spectators. Humanity is divided between these two. Very rarely an observer is born. An Ashtavakra, a Krishna, a Mahavir, a Buddha. Very rarely someone is awakened and become the observer. You are the observer of all. Know that you are an observer and observe everything around you without analyzing, and try to look at the things as they are, not through your psychological mind. And a great new world will arise within you. Thank you so much. We'll meet again next week with another part of Ashtavakra Gita. Thank you.